fight your cap.
We walk in your trap, take over your trap.
We walk in your trap, take over your trap.
We grind your trap.
We grind your trap.
We fight no cap.
We fight your cap.
We walk in your trap, take over your trap.
We walk in your trap, take over your trap.
We walk in your trap, take over your trap.
Welcome to the Players Ball Podcast for AT Aliens by AT Aliens. I'm your host, Alex the Great, joined by my brother from another, MB. MB, how's it hanging, man?
Man, it's
Living the
good.
dream?
Yeah, can't complain.
Flag football over?
Finally, man. I think we were I don't remember how many games we played, but we were over in the
You
win.
didn't get a single win?
No, man.
Yeesh.
We scored 3 touchdowns all season. And all 3 were basically given to us. 2 of them, the other team, like just flat out let us score. And one of them, there was a young lady on our team, and her flags were falling down, like down to her legs, and it should have probably been whistled dead, but the ref didn't whistle the play dead because no one attempted to grab her flags. So,
man, soccer. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it was rough. I think we lost the last game like 70-0.
Soccer has been a whole lot better for Charlotte. I'm sure they haven't won. I haven't really been keeping the score, but every team that we play seems like they have at least 2 or 3 hitters, right? Just going out there, and we don't really have any. Now there's this one kid, Maxwell, but he plays on the other team. They had to split him, so we got 2 more weeks of that, and then we are off for the season. Man, it's gonna be nice. All right. Lost my train of thought. What were we gonna talk about?
Atlanta United, man.
Oh, United. Yeah. They made the playoffs. We talked about that last week. Messi, they had to go down south to South Beach to play Messi and Luis Suarez and all those superstars down there. And I think they held their own. They did lose, but it looked good. It didn't look like they were just outmatched completely. Right, there were definitely some strong shots on goal. Brad Guzan, despite the 2 goals that they did score, he was balling out, dog. He was all over the place.
If it wasn't for a Herculean effort by Brad Guzan, that score probably would have been ugly. But in general, I mean, that's how it goes with soccer, right? Individual effort can really make or break you.
Yeah. On either side of the ball, right? The thing that is what makes soccer exciting is shots on goal. Like, if you're not getting shots on goal, it's kind of a boring spectator sport. But there was no lack of that in that game. I mean, I'm hopeful that this one, I think they play Saturday or either Friday or Saturday. They're back here, so I'm hopeful that they can go out there and pull out a win. And see how far they can get us. They weren't supposed to be there, right? It was a 10% odds of making it, so it's house money now. So I'm just excited for them to get there, back to the playoffs, and obviously I want them to make some noise. But if they don't, I understand. It's still a move in the right direction.
It's definitely a step forward. Like you said, they played well. They actually went out. They got the first goal. It was level 1-1 at halftime. It didn't take long into the second half. I think they were like 2 minutes into the second half when Miami scored the eventual game winner. And it was a spectacular goal, right? It was 100% golazo. Not much you can do there. You are playing against a historically good Miami team, right? You got Messi and his Barcelona friends out there just running the thing. Terrorizing the league. They only lost 2 games at home all year. One of them was to United, so you gotta take those dubs. They get to come home It's going to be a full capacity crowd at the bins, right? They're going to open up, I believe, all
The third
sections.
level.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I hope the crowd is there, rowdy and ready to have a good time, and I hope the team shows out, gets a dub, and gets an opportunity to go back to South Beach and shock the world. Right? You got to take it one game at a time. But if they can get that W and level the series and get an opportunity to go back down to South Beach and get some redemption and move on, that would be the icing on top, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's gonna be a packed crowd. Just hoping that it's more in our favor than
Yeah.
it is Miami's. With us being a transplant city the way we are, Miami's not that far, but there's some industry up here that they don't have. So I'm sure there's some Miami people here. Obviously, there's gonna be a ton of Messi fans here. Even United fans were Messi fans before he was with Inter Milan. Or Inter Milan, Inter Miami.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes, man. But we're pulling for them, pulling for the five stripes. We'll see what they can do.
Yeah, and another just kind of interesting storyline, and we don't have to talk about it much at all, but their skipper, I don't know, manager, whatever you want to call him,
Yeah.
is good old Tata Martino. There's a lot of love for
Hmm.
him in the city. We wish he was still with the club.
Right.
It's a shame that him and Bocanegra didn't see eye to eye, because Tata was a large part of what made this team great and come out the gate hot and get that championship in year 2. So much love to him. Glad to see him doing some successful things, but I would love to get a little bit of revenge for him leaving. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, speaking of players leaving, um, quick transition, almost silent. Right. World Series is on. The Dodgers are up 3-1. Um, a lot of the reason they're up is because of a former Brave, Mr. Freddie Freeman. He set the record for most consecutive games in a World Series with a home run with 6. I remember the one in Game 6 with us. I didn't remember that he hit one in Game 5. But my man has been on an absolute tear. After kind of stinking it up in the earlier rounds of the postseason, I saw a CBS, their rankings. They can get a little dicey, but this one was good. It just seemed odd. He was so far down, but they ranked it before the World Series had started, and he had been playing like trash. So he was the 10th best player on the list.
so he had been
Went in
he had been hobbled, right? Like he was injured
a little hurt. Yeah.
late in the year. I think it was like the last week of the season. And so he wasn't even playing every night because he couldn't run. And
Hmm.
it wasn't until game 1 of the World Series where he hit that grand slam to win it
Yeah.
in extra innings that they asked him after the game, like how his ankle was doing. He said for the first time it felt good, like he could run on it. And you could see, he's not in pain clearly, and the swing, that majestic swing he's got is
That
back.
majestic swing.
As a lefty myself, man, it's hard for me not to be a huge Freddie fan, right? I played first base. Um, he's out there representing the lefties, and he's one of the best to ever do it. He's a relatively quiet guy, real lunch pail kind of guy. Um,
Lunch pail. I like that.
but he's got that clutch factor that the Braves are sorely missing. I love Matt Olson. I love that he's an Atlanta native, a local kid who's playing for the home team, which is what Freddie's doing out in LA. I love Matt Olson, but we are missing that clutch factor that Freddie brings, just that ability to show up in big moments, be ice cool, ice water in the veins, calm, collected, and just getting it done. Um, Going back to that 2021 World Series, you got the cap on. Um,
I do.
we don't get there. We don't even get out the wild card if Freddie Freeman doesn't go deep on Josh Hader in the Brewers
Brewers
to
series. Yeah.
to keep our World Series hopes alive. So much love to Freddie. Glad to see him having success. I wish he was still here in Atlanta. It's a shame that he's not here, but you know, Matt Olson he's younger, and hopefully he can develop that clutch factor. Because oh man, we need it.
I'm not gonna say, well wishes to Freddie. Forget that guy, man. Like he's not Brave anymore. Now he plays for, I don't know if they're the Evil Empire or the Yankees the Evil Empire. Just paying for championships is how I feel about it right now.
So
I don't want to wish I don't wish negative on him, but I'm not rooting for him either, right? If this World Series could end in a tie or the season just not finish, right, that would be great.
I'm with you. Like I'm not necessarily I want to see Freddie do good, but I also want to see the Dodgers lose. But to me, the evil empire will forever and always be the New York
Yankees,
Yankees.
yeah,
And they are 1A and the Dodgers are 1B.
yeah.
So if I had to
Couldn't This
choose,
World Series couldn't happen to two worst teams.
yeah. But there's some likable guys, at least on the Dodgers. I don't know so much on the Yankees, but like it's hard to root against a Mookie Betts. It's hard to root against a Freddie Freeman just from their characters, right? Like
Yeah.
now when
I
they
mean, you wouldn't. I don't feel like Aaron Judge seems like a likable guy, right? I don't know a whole lot about Juan Soto outside of his play, where he's a boss, right? But I like Giancarlo Stanton. He seems like a likable guy.
I liked Jazz
A total
Chisholm
monster.
until he went to the Yankees. You put on that black and white pinstripes and you instantly morph into Darth Vader.
Oh well, I'm just glad. I mean, would it have been worse if Freddie ended up as a Yankee?
Yeah,
Yeah,
much worse.
because that's absolute disrespect, right? You're not going home, you're just leaving to go and chase a ring, which you just won.
Yeah.
Did you know that they were talking about it this morning on steak tips? They're saying that when stars leave Atlanta, they always go. It's always like this big ordeal, right? Freddie left. Do you know who also left that same year?
Will Smith?
Matt Ryan,
Y- well, Will Smith was not a star, but there is another interesting storyline there. Matt
the
Ryan.
catcher for the
Yeah.
Dodgers.
No, there's three Will Smiths in baseball, and then you have the actor. No, the pitcher Will Smith, the one who
Oh,
was essentially our closer through that World Series. He ended
yeah,
up leaving and winning the next two World Series, all with different teams.
yeah.
This year broke the cycle, but he was a Royal, so he did have a chance.
He had a shot at it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he won with the Rangers, and who won it last year?
He won it with the Rangers and with the Astros, I believe.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, so I don't want any ill will towards Freddie, but I'm not pulling for him. He
So
was he was trash. He's had 50 at bats in the postseason. He's only had 12 hits, and a lot of those came in the last 4 games.
yeah,
So I understand why, right, with him being hurt, but
is Freddie a guaranteed Hall of Famer for you?
yeah,
I think he cemented that legacy if he wasn't already a Hall of Famer with what he's done in this postseason, and especially being the first player to hit a walk-off grand slam in the World Series. Um,
yeah.
but the question I have is, you go into the Hall of Fame, you get a Hall of Fame bust. What baseball cap is he wearing?
Braves.
You think so? I mean, it's his choice.
It depends on how much longer he he plays. I
So
mean, he was a Brave. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years as a Brave. He's been a Dodger for 3 years. Be a little disrespectful, and he won a championship with us. Be a little disrespectful for him to put on a Dodgers hat for his
If he wins another
his
championship,
bus.
if he wins a World Series MVP, and if he wins multiple championships in the Dodgers, does that change your perspective?
um, ye- is he? I don't see them doing that.
Uh,
Do I have to live in fantasy world? You know what I mean?
so if he,
If he was to go on to do that, I guess I could,
Sway is
yeah. I mean, he became who he was here, right? That we gave them a fully developed Freddie Freeman.
so there is an option to go in with a hat that's blank. Is that disrespectful?
Yeah, that's a cop out. If you're not gonna pick us, don't pick somebody. Get off the fence, man. Was it should have get off the pot?
It's his contract negotiations all over again.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's why he's not here. But he won an MVP. He's a 7-time All-Star. Um, what other accolades does he have? 3 Silver Sluggers. He has a Golden Glove. I think he gets in, even if they lose. It's hard to even like because if he loses, the Yankees win.
Yeah.
It's tough, man.
I
There's no one to root for. This is like our presidential election.
yeah, which I went and voted on Monday. So get out there and vote.
I voted.
Do your
I
civic
voted
duty.
today. Yeah,
I'll have to talk to you about that
vote
off
or
the
die.
pod.
Yeah, we'll keep it to sports.
For me, I would much rather see. Yeah, I was born in LA, so it's a bit different. I have a
Yeah,
very distant relative by marriage was a former Dodger. I grew up like
Mr. Mike Scioscia.
yeah. My first introduction to live baseball was the Dodgers. I'm a diehard Braves fan. I grew up a Braves fan. Even when we lived in California, I was a Braves fan. But for me to just like pure hate towards them, it's not as deep as my hatred for the Yankees. So
Yeah.
I would much rather see the Dodgers win this series than the Yankees. But that's just me. I know a lot of Atlanta fans probably feel the same way you do, where it's like
Oh yeah.
nobody wins.
No one wins.
A meteorite lands in the middle of the field, and they have to call off the whole thing.
Cancel the season. Yeah. The aliens attack.
Yeah. But
Oh.
speaking of busts, a statue was unveiled this week for one Dwayne Wade.
Oh man.
We had a close friend who's from Miami, was a massive Miami Heat fan, a
He still is.
huge D Wade fan. Tried to emulate D Wade quite a bit.
His play style for sure.
Yeah. So that whole statue unveiling was quite the entertainment. It's been all over, people just clowning on it. D Wade, even in his speech, clowned on it.
Who is that guy?
So it made me wonder, as it pertains to Atlanta, right? We have, I believe, Bobby Cox has a statue outside of Truist, and I don't know what other statues we have.
Hank is inside. Hammer Hank's inside. Dale Murphy. There was a fourth. I looked it up right before this.
But
And Warren Spahn.
are there any? There's no basketball or football players with statues.
Dominique, he's the only one. He's down at State Farm.
Oh, that was new.
Dominique has a statue.
That was like the last couple years, right? I remember that
Yeah, that
unveiling.
was like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question to you is, what former player or even current player do you kind of see deserving a statue? Any sport.
My initial answer is no one. Um, and I'll preference that by saying the Falcons don't have any. They have the Ring of Honor, which is cool. It's not a bronzer though, right? And I don't see them changing that. Like so, not them. The Hawks, if Trey brings us a championship, he can get a statue for sure. But we're a long ways away from that, right? We're in year one of a not a rebuild. Or what do they call it? A retool, a reconfiguration. So that's a ways off. I don't think there's anybody else on the Hawks, former or present, that would get one. And then with the Braves, Freddie, but not Freddie. It can't be him at this point.
I think there is. I
Uh,
think there is a Brave that deserves one and should get one.
Far away.
Chipper.
Yeah.
I mean, from the pure standpoint of like Chipper was the golden child of the Braves. He's a lifer, right? He never played for another franchise. He's Hall of Famer, one of the best third basemen to ever play the game, one of the best hitters to ever play the game. I could see them putting a statue out there for Chipper.
He did win an MVP, 8-time All Star. He won a batting title, 2-time Silver Slugger. He's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, why not? I don't know though. I mean, Chipper's last year was in 2012. It's been a long time, right?
It took a long time to put Neek out there in front of State Farm.
That's a very good point. He's been out of the league for a very long time, and that was definitely. I think Grayson was like 3 or 4 because we walked down, and we weren't at the event when we saw it like that weekend. Um,
I also think when it comes to Neek, right, like he left the city in some weird circumstances, right? He was traded away. He didn't finish his career here, but after he finished his career, he came back and he's contributed to the team in many ways, right? He does um, do some broadcast. Um, he he's one of the
he does
broadcasts.
good too. Yeah, him
Yeah,
and Bob Rappin. Yeah,
and so he's still heavily involved and heavily affiliated with the team. Now, a couple years ago, Chipper was a coach of sorts, helped with the batting, and
yeah.
we have since fired our hitting coach and hired a new one. And there are possibilities that Chipper could be involved again. He's done broadcasts. He's still at every game, every home game. So he's still
Yeah.
heavily involved in the organization, and I could see that beyond just the output on the field, kind of pushing him over the top and deserving or earning a statue. So
Yeah. Did you know the last year Dominique Wilkins was here, the Hawks were the number 1 seed in the East, and they traded him. I don't know the details behind that. I think it was something like with the GM at the time, which is not a fan of him or something. It was some fishy business, some sus activity, for sure, that sent Nick out of here.
seems like we got
Um,
a little bit of that still to this day with this current regime.
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of what they're doing uh, with the organization. The lack of moves they made in the off season, the lack of depth this team possesses, and just I don't know if the overall I don't know if there's a clear vision of where this team needs to go and what it needs to get to over the top, right?
I mean, I can see what they're doing as far as the lack of moves because there wasn't a whole lot of moves that they could have made at this point, right? Um, they had the number one draft pick in a draft where no one wanted it. Their only piece of value right now is Trey and or Jalen, and you don't trade Trey because one, he's the best player, but he's also the only thing putting butts in the seats. And Jalen is as he can be a foundational piece. Um, no one wants DeAndre Hunter, or I feel like he would already be gone. I don't think anyone wants Clint Capella, and I'm not even mad at Clint, you know. But if they did, he would probably already be gone. They're going to try to build up through the draft. We cannot stay healthy. So we've transitioned to the Hawks, right? Right now, five of our rotational players are out, right? And important pieces. Bogey is going to be gone for a month. Kobe Buffkin, who I don't even remember him playing at this point, right? Kobe Buffkin has been out for a while, he will be out for a month. You know, he was supposed to come into this season to be healthy and be the backup point guard. Um, Vic Krejci, who is the third. I mean, he gets reserved minutes in other roles, but he was like the third backup point guard, and he's out. DeAndre Hunter is out. So we're really is Trey, Jalen, and the Rook right right now. Oh, Dyson Daniels, who's had a who's had a great start to the season, man. I think that he was actually a very valuable ad. Considering we were talking about the moves that they made, I think Dyson Daniels was a good ad. He's looked good, putting up a lot of steals. He's playing good defense. It's going to be a ride though with the Hawks this season. I don't. We talked about it a little bit before, right? It's kind of addition by subtraction because we traded our second best player and we look about the same. But I think there's a lot more room for growth just because we did bring in Ricochet. Dyson Daniel is young. I think this is his third or fourth year in the league. Um, I'm not. I mean, I'm optimistic still that we can make the playoffs. That's the goal. Trey Young was on. What show was he on? Was it Dukes and Bell? Maybe it was Andy and Randy.
Andy
But he
Randy.
said that's the Andy Randy. I love that's probably my favorite show. I don't catch him that often, but he was on there and he was talking about what the goal was. Oh, you know what? He was on with Big Tigger. It was on V103 that he had his interview. Sister station of 929 the game, if you didn't know. But he was like the goal. What Tigger was like? What's the goal this season? Like, what are we looking at? And he's like, the championship is that reach? Trey was like, no. He didn't say no, but he meant no. So yeah, we want to make the playoffs as a top six seed, avoid the play in, and I think that's an obtainable goal. The East isn't super strong. That six seed could be anybody. It could be why not us?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long season. Players are gonna get healthy. It's still early, right? What is it? Game 5 was tonight.
Yeah,
Um, but just my personal take on the early games, while we do have a lot of injuries, I still don't like the style of play, really. There is nothing more frustrating to me as a fan than seeing us get a defensive stop, which is rare, right? And then running down the court and chucking up a three ball within the first couple seconds and just
mm,
bricking it.
yeah,
Like, that is not good basketball. It's not, there's nothing about that sounds like a champion or even a top 6 team. Uh, I think we're still in that playoff bubble, the play-in bubble. If we make the playoffs, it will be as a play-in team. That's just the vibe I get. Like I said, there's a lot of time left in the season and they could, change some things up. They can start to gel together and get hot. But I don't see it. I do like the additions of Dyson Daniels. You could early on see that his defensive game does add a layer that we're missing. And then
Yeah.
just the general attitude, right? I think it was in the first game or second game where he gets fouled hard and he gets in the guy's face. And I think Trey even said that the vibe of this team is different in that way, and that he's been a part of squads in the past that would have just let the other team just bully him and just not do anything about
Yeah.
it. So I do think that there is beginning to have an attitude shift, but we got to start to see it, more across the board and just better play, offensively, better shot selection. It really, really pains me to see them just chuck up threes, short possessions, right? Like if you're gonna throw up a three ball, at least be deep in the shot clock. Like,
From what I understand, man, that's what Quinn Snyder wants.
I don't like it,
And
man.
I don't like it either. And I'd be hard pressed to say that he's on the hot seat since he does have just a brand new team that expectations are just not very high for. But I think a lot of the issue is him. Right? If there's anybody that I have questions about on the Hawks right now, outside of DeAndre Hunter, which is less questions, I just want him to have a new. I want him to have a change of scenery. It's Quinn Snyder, man, and like for the first two games we won, Ricochet did not start, and I'm like, he's the number one pick. He is here to play him, right? You're not. I don't think you're setting yourself up to win or lose more or less games by playing him. You need to develop him, and he's only going to do that by playing, right?
Yeah,
I know he's not going to come out the gate. It's a big change of pace from France to here. Even he said that. I saw he in an interview that he had. He was talking about how, um, like in the French league, he was one of the most athletic guys. And here he said he's just an average Joe, right? And he's a skinny kid. He's 19. He's gonna bulk up, right? But even I don't know who said it, but they said there's only so much weight you can put on as a 19-year-old. You're not in your adult body, right? You're still developing, but he can still learn the flow of the game by playing. He needs to play. Um, uh, I'm glad he's playing now, but I don't know that he would be if it wasn't for all these injuries. Um,
I
the
definitely
other
don't.
thing is, go
I definitely don't think he
ahead.
would be because I think DeAndre Hunter is really in front of him in terms of his natural position on the floor. Now they do have rotations where they're both on the floor, but I think DeAndre Hunter being hurt is a blessing for Ricochet.
Right. Because he's got to get those minutes somewhere. And it's not just DeAndre, right? It's a number of people in that wing area that are hurt. So he should get a lot of run now. Like he got 14 minutes the first game, 19 minutes the second game. It's like, come on, dog. Get that man in there. Get him in there and play. I do like the the return to, it's not necessarily hero ball, but just Trey having the ball in his hands at all times. I think having to have dialed that back with DJ Murray here definitely hurt him. That's not his style, and I see now like he made a sacrifice. Um, he may not lead our team, but he's up there in blocks. He is a defensive presence. He's not a stopper, but he's a lot more active, and his energy is a lot higher on that defensive end. So I'm happy about that. I
He's an
don't know. I'm,
actual
I'm optimistic.
he's an actual fifth body on the floor on defense,
Yeah,
not just a
yeah,
ghost.
right.
We talked about it, I think offline, not on the pod, but there were comments made by DJ about his time here in Atlanta. I think both Trey and DJ, they're good friends. They like each other. It just their style of plays just did not mesh, and
They didn't.
they had to make sacrifices. And I think you saw a little bit of that because you would have like, oh, tonight's Trey's game, tonight's DJ's game, and you go back and forth. And when one was hurt and the other wasn't, you would see the other basically thrive, right?
Ball dominant. Yeah.
And but he said pretty much that he was happy to be in New Orleans and he thought he was going to have a great season, and a large part of that was going to be him actually getting to play his game the way and be used the way, his it's complementary to his style of play instead of the way he was used in Atlanta. Now unfortunately
Yeah.
for him, he went out and did he break his
Broke his hand.
hand? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's going to miss a good portion of the season. Never want to see a guy hurt. I really liked DJ when he was here. Like, I just liked his attitude. I liked his swagger. So sucks for him, but it does make us look better in that trade for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you can tell the difference early on in the season, in the style of play that Trey's able to just kind of get back to himself.
Yeah. The other thing that was encouraging and is less so now is that we were beating teams we were supposed to beat. Like Charlotte's trash, we beat them. Brooklyn's trash, we beat them. OKC was they went to I mean not that they went to the semifinals in the West. They ran into a tough T Wolves team that ended up going to the Western Conference Finals. So they're solid, right? And they got blown out that game. And then against the Wizards, they were leading at the half by I think double digits, maybe it was just 10, and blew it late. And they did that same thing again tonight. They were leading at the half by 8 and just let the Wizards go crazy. And they lost big. They lost by 13 tonight, man. To a sorry Wizards team. The Wizards are not forecast to be good, right?
Yeah.
Now
No,
for my fantasy numbers, Trey killed it, 35 and 14. I'll take that every night. Um,
I got
but we want to
Jalen.
see some wins.
I got
You
Jalen.
do?
Yeah. So
21 and 17.
yeah, I mean
He balled out. Yeah.
he's had a pretty above average start to the season. I'd say, like, just what you would expect of him, right? Being a good castmate, not the lead character, but yeah, the
Yeah.
good
The
co-star.
Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like Zachary Ricochet started at shooting guard. He put up 17. I don't see their I don't this particular look that I'm doing. I don't see their percentages. So I don't know how efficient it was, but he started as shooting guard. They started Jalen at small forward and David Roddy, who I hadn't heard of, was our starting power forward tonight with all the injuries. It was cool to see that Keaton Wallace, because he was on he made the team based off his summer league play. He got some run tonight. um, Garrison Matthews, yeah,
Larry Nance Jr., a bunch of guys
Larry Nance.
that hadn't
No,
really.
that's it. Five. We played 9 players out of 15. So DeAndre was out. Mohamed Gouye, I think we drafted him last year. He was out. Daniel Dyson was out. I don't think Cody Zeller was playing, but Kobe Buffkin, Vit Krejci, and Bogey all hurt.
Mm,
Like to see Jalen play 40 minutes, that makes me a little nervous. I know Trey can do it, but Jalen, with the injuries. But Ricochet, I want him to get all 35 of
mm,
them minutes every night.
yeah.
Play him. Run that kid to death, man.
Well, let's just hope the Hawks don't end up with a season like the Braves, where it's just injury woe after injury woe.
It I won't even say it.
Don't.
I'ma say it.
No.
If it's just like we're headed look at the Falcons, dog. Like the defense. We just keep losing defensive players. It actually started with offensive players because who we lose? Caleb McGarry. We've lost some big pieces but it does feel like it's across the board, not just Atlanta. There's a lot of teams that are
I
really
would
hurt. Like the Saints are decimated. The Buccaneers,
I would say compared to the other teams in the league, I think the Falcons are doing pretty well. And knock on wood, praise Jesus, do whatever you got to do uh, to keep those good spirits because they are doing better on the injury front than many teams, like you mentioned, the Saints, the Bucks. Um, Stephon Diggs went out for the season. Heck, DK Metcalf was out this past week. The number of serious injuries to big time superstars has been incredible. Um, Rice for Kansas City is out for the year or
She
out
Rice.
or out for a long time. Like it's just been
Nah, he's out for the year. They're Isaiah Pacheco. It has the chance to come back.
but like I said, one thing after another. Godwin's out for a year. Um, so just bad all around. I will say on the plus side, we're winning. And
We
at
are
the end
winning.
of the day, that's what matters. We've taken care of business in the division. We're 4-0. Swept the Bucks on the year. Still got one more against the Aints, the Stinky Town, and the Panthers, the Kitties, as I think your boy John Freaky calls them, the Kitty Cats. um,
Yeah, man.
And I saw a graphic today. I believe that as it stands, we have like an 82% chance of making the playoffs as the Dirty Birds. So, um, there's a lot of things that I would like to see better by this team, especially defensively. Um, but by and large, I'm fairly happy where this season has gone so far for the Falcons.
Yeah, I am as well. Winning is nice. It's not something that we've done a lot of in recent years. Um, and Kirk Cousins, man, what a breath of fresh air this guy is. I mean, he is very quickly becoming one of my favorite Falcons of all time. Like he, we gonna definitely tag the video of his pregame speech where you walk into your trap, take over your trap, walk into your trap, take over your trap. He, oh man, with the swag surf, uh, the way he played in the Bucks game was incredible. Dialing them up. They don't want to. They definitely don't want a third game against Kirk Cousins. So I'm glad. I'm sure they're glad it's over. Um, he's had some hiccups, like the Seattle game wasn't good, but for the most part, he's been the best quarterback we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, the touchdown pass he threw to Darnell Mooney, like it was a perfect pass. You can't
Yeah.
defend that, right? You couldn't throw a better ball, and those are things that we just haven't seen in a very long time. And frankly, Matt Ryan was a great processor of the game, and he holds all the records right for the city. He's to date the greatest quarterback that's ever played for the city, but he did not throw the ball down the field with the precision and accuracy that we see out of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, especially later in his career, right? There were so many times where I remember Julio having a guaranteed touchdown, but he had to stop on the route because the ball had to it didn't get to him, right? If you had an arm that would have put it all the way out there, he Julio's touchdown numbers are double from what he ended up with. So yeah, now Kurt's threading that needle. I'll give him his praise. I've been beating him down for weeks and weeks. Kyle Pitts, although he tried to blow it,
He
he
did.
looked good. He looked athletic. He looked fast and strong against the Bucks, and that was exciting to see.
He didn't look scared.
He did not look scared like he did against Seattle, because he looked terrified against Seattle, man, like a deer in headlights. Brittany, I wish we'll feature the wives at one point. Man, give their thoughts. But Brittany she'll tell you how upset I was at Kyle Pitts at that game. Like, why is he acting like this? You're the biggest player on the field, bro. There's not alignment.
Now, I'm not one to push conspiracy theories, but I'm just going to throw this out there. Do you think that there is anything? So Sunday was National Tight Ends Day. Do you think there was anything scripted or added to the all around the league to feature some tight ends? Because your boy Cade Otton looked unguardable for the Bucks. Kyle Pitts doubled his touchdowns for the year. I think he's already surpassed his total for last year.
Yeah, almost his career total.
Brock Bowers just continues to be a stud. Kelsey had a big game. It was just around the league. Tight ends just seemed to
They got off on tight end day.
magically appear where they had been absent.
I mean, the most curious one to me would be Kyle Pitts, right? Because Cade Otton with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin down, he's their number one option. I added Sterling
Shepard.
Shepard. He gave me nothing, right? Brock, you already said it. He's been pretty much balling all season. He's coming in as a stud. I wish I would have started Lad McConkey. He got off last week too.
I didn't start Kyle Pitts, so don't feel bad.
I did start Kyle.
I didn't, I regret it. And I did start Drake London, and he did not do much of anything for me.
Yeah, it wasn't his week. I would think, if anything, maybe the league put out a call to say, hey, increase your tight end packages this week. Right, we're gonna feature them on the broadcast. Make sure they look good, because they still got to get out there and do the work, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was just, I threw it out there as a joke, really. But I do think if it is tight end day, National Tight End Day, that as an offensive coordinator, you might try to feature them a little bit,
sprinkle some things in.
Yeah, just naturally.
So I want those plays for Kyle to stick. Yeah, his performance over the last couple of weeks has thrown me. I have started him 3 weeks in a row in fantasy, and I have Sam Laporta on the bench. So, that says something. I wish him continued success. Prove me wrong. I've said it before. He's doing it. Just keep doing it. All right. Don't prove me right now. Stay on the path that you're on, and I'll keep pulling for you, man.
So another polarizing figure on the Falcons, AJ Terrell. We've talked about him. So I just want to know.
I got mine to get yours.
I want to know where you stand on him, just in general.
He had the best back plays I've ever seen him have against the Bucks, with that lick that he laid, and then the very next play getting the pick, which he worked for, right? He earned that pick. I don't remember him getting a whole lot of interceptions in previous years, so I think the caveat there is that they did not have their number one or number two wide receiver out there.
I think we've seen
every
flashes.
time he's played their true number one, he's kind of gotten dusted. Like George Pickens put it on him, DK Metcalf, the one hand block. If that wasn't enough, he faces CD Lamb this week, and CD's the top 5 receiver in the league. I think CD probably gonna put it on him, but the Cowboys are prone to turnovers, so I definitely think we still pull it out. I think it's gonna be closer than a lot of people think, just because they're fighting for their lives, and we're riding a high coming off that Tampa game. Being 4-0 in the division is a big deal. So it's one that previous Falcons teams would set up to lose, and CeeDee Lamb would be one of the major reasons why, because AJ Terrell hasn't proven that he can hold down a number one wide receiver. He's had a tough go this year, right? He started with Rasheed Rice. He got hurt in the fourth quarter of the game with us, but he was balling. He's a true number one. Um, who else did we play? Deontay Johnson, you know, is a number one, right? But he got off on him too. So
Chris Olave
overall,
and
Did Chris
Snead,
Olave get down on him?
they both had decent games, Snead and Olave.
Yeah,
He's had flashes, right? Like he's had moments. He's had way more turnovers than I remember historically. Which, you know, even if you're getting dusted here and there, if you can get a turnover here and there, it does make up for it to some degree, right? Um,
yeah.
so I would say he's kind of in that same boat as Kyle Pitts. I would say Kyle Pitts is having a little bit better of a year.
Hmm.
But I would say they're both showing flashes of why we rated them so highly to begin with, and what we're missing is the consistency. And if they can bring that piece, then they'll be worth every penny that. Well, AJ's already gotten paid. Kyle will play
Yeah,
himself into a contract, right? So
he
we'll
will.
have to wait and see how the rest of it pans out.
AJ Terrell has matched his solo tackles from this year to last year. He played 17 games
Wow.
last year.
Yeah.
Um, the two picks, he only had four career interceptions on his career, or four career interceptions. I guess I didn't need that second career, right? And three of those came in 2021, his second season. So he didn't have any the last 2 years. So for him to have two now is good. Yeah, I mean, numbers say he's playing better.
Yeah. For sure he's playing better. It's just, is he playing up to the contract or playing up to the, getting paid in the top, 10% of cornerbacks? That's the question, right?
Yeah,
Um,
we'll have to look at those numbers next to, another well-paid cornerback to see
yeah.
what that actually looks like.
But I want to talk about this upcoming game because we're approaching that hour mark. And
Hmm.
you said this is a game that the Falcons of old, it's setting them up for failure. I'm going to do my best Kirby Smart impression, but sub NFL for SEC. Every game in the National Football League is a tough game, right? Like any given Sunday for a reason. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You can go
Great
out
start.
and lose. So I never feel like, well, there are games that I feel like we should blow teams out, Carolina, that I don't actually believe we will
Yeah.
because it is the National Football League, right? And there is so much parity in the league. These are all professionals. They're all athletes. Um, so, you know, over the past 3 seasons, it'd be interesting to just count up the total number of one possession games that we've played in, and
Yeah.
I don't expect this to be any different.
I think, yeah, no, I support everything you said. I'm gonna circle back real quick. Um, the pre-halftime scores, right? You mentioned Carolina. Without that halftime touchdown that they shouldn't have gotten, I think that one is an even larger margin, a much larger margin of victory there. Then we gave a pre-halftime touchdown to the Seahawks that I believe they shouldn't have gotten either. Last week, we finally scored some points. It wasn't a touchdown, but we got three going into the half. Um,
That was a
I
huge
think that bodes.
answer, right? Because at that point in
It
time,
was.
the Bucks were trying to build some momentum. They score and we turn around. So we score, they turn around and answer, and then we turn around and answer in like under a minute. That
Yeah.
2 minute drill, Kurt, he does some magic.
Dialed it up, man.
Yeah.
Dialed it up.
But yeah, that was huge to get those points going into the half.
Yeah, and then to your point about the one possession games, right? We should have had more than one. We should have put it to 8. It's still one possession, but Koo uncharacteristically misses a kick. Um, cardiac Falcons, bro. They gotta dial our heartbeats up at the end of the games, man. I feel like that's probably what's on the way with Dallas is definitely a one possession game, um, where it's gonna come down to the last couple of plays. And maybe you're right, right? That is the NFL at this point. I haven't seen a ton of blowouts. The Eagles blew out the Bengals. That was surprising. They beat the brakes off the Bengals this weekend. But other than that, I haven't seen many blowouts. How about Will Anderson has double the amount of sacks we have as a team,
Yeah, I mean,
or tackles for a loss? Sacks is Dexter Lawrence, but he has almost double. What do we have? 5?
we're still the worst sacking football team in all of the world.
All of the world.
All of the world. I think there's some Canadian football teams that sack the quarterback better than we do. I will say there is some chitter chatter that the Falcons are looking to make some moves. I don't know that they're going to be the big splashy Miles Garrett or Max Crosby's that we've talked about in the past, but it does appear that they are looking to upgrade on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, I heard Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals because he doesn't want to be there. Um, I don't know how we afford anybody that has some real talent. They talked about him. They talked about Hassan Reddick now that he's back to playing, or he'll play this week. That he might be the guy, right? But yeah, we definitely need some help. Matthew Judon is not doing himself any favors right now, and I don't know that it's all his fault, right? A lot of times it seems like he's in coverage, which I don't get. He's here to go after the quarterback. Send him after the quarterback every play.
Yeah. I do see I do see him getting after it, but I think there's a lot of different philosophies on how to sack the quarterback, and I just don't think we do any of them great, right? Like we don't pressure up the
Yeah,
middle. Our coverage is soft, so when you're playing against teams, they can get the ball out quick. Like it's not like every drop. So in the past, every quarterback we've played dropped back and had like 5 minutes to scan the field. That's not,
yeah,
by and large, that's not happening this year, right? There are some times where it's like, where the heck is the freaking rush? But for the
yeah,
most part, they're getting close, but they're just not there. And I think it's just a lack of depth and needing the right guys in the right position. I do like Matthew Judon's piece. I don't think he has a counterpart, right?
yeah. He needs some help, right?
Yeah. And our rush defense is terrible. So that middle of the defensive line is getting ate up.
hmm And that's Grady's specialty, right? Like that's his bread and butter. But maybe he's just aging.
He's aging and he's coming off an injury, right? And
Yeah.
you can double team him, right? Like
And
that's
that's why we brought in all of those the youth. We were talking about injuries, like Braylon Trice. I thought he was going to be one of the rookies that played. Um, I thought Rook Ororo was going to play more. He's played of late, but now he's hurt. Uh, you brought those guys in. You used all those draft picks on the trenches. You got to put them in the game, man.
yeah.
Especially if the guys that are there aren't doing well, right? We're 5-2. We're 7 games in. 4-2, 5-2. What are we?
We've lost
5-3.
3 games. KC,
Yeah.
Steelers, and the Seahawks.
So 8 games in, people are who they are gonna be, except that maybe Grady, coming off the injury that he's coming into. He's gonna have to work his way back up to his self.
Yeah, and I also think you can say people are who they are, and that is true. But when you're
Veterans, let's say that.
but when you're
Yeah,
evaluating a veteran who is proven, right? Like Grady is a proven commodity. I do
hmm
think it is okay. It is acceptable to have the expectation that things will change. When you're talking about younger guys or guys who are veterans that really have never stood out in their career, right? Like you just don't have that same confidence that all of a sudden it's going to click.
right, like a Contavia Street.
Yeah. Or a Lorenzo Carter, right? Like he's an okay
Yeah,
piece, but he doesn't add too much. Like he's a body, he's on the field, he makes plays, but he's not going to improve your pass rush. Arnold Ebiketie at this point probably not going to be a pass rush specialist, putting up a lot of numbers in this league, right?
yeah. No, I don't see it. How do we get one of those corn-fed white fellas, man? Like a TJ Watt. What's my man's name in Detroit who got hurt? Aiden Hutchinson, one of those Bosa brothers. Like,
You got to stop picking these positions in the third and fourth round.
yeah, yeah,
We
gotta
we
get
have
him first, huh?
we have not really drafted a player at one of those positions in the top of the draft. We've been pure offense at the top of the draft, and I will stand behind. I am still okay with the Michael Penix pick. Would it be nice
Yeah.
to have uh, gotten a Will Anderson? Sure, or someone like that. Sure. Um, I think all of the guys that they talked about going into this draft have done decent.
Will was last year.
Yeah, but the other Alabama guy who's up in Minnesota is doing decent. The guy from FSU, he's out west. He's doing decent. Um, I don't think I've checked on the UCLA kid, but they're all doing pretty well. Like I think we would have been okay with any of those guys. We did pick Braylon Trice in the second round, which shouldn't be too bad, right? And like you said,
Yeah.
he was probably going to be a substantial piece, but he's out for the year, and you got to adapt and overcome. So it's
Yeah, how is Latu doing?
that's the UCLA kid.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, yeah. He's got 2 sacks. He'd be the sack leader on our team.
yeah,
2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 9 tackles.
yeah.
Let's see. Byron Murphy. He's only played 1 game. He has no statistics at all. Uh, Jared Curse with the Rams. 2.5 sacks, 17 solo tackles, 1 forced fumble. He's getting off. And then the other one, Dallas Turner.
Yeah, Dallas Turner.
He's played 6 games. He doesn't have very many stats. He has 6 tackles, 1 sack.
He'd still be in the top of the sack leaders for our team.
He'd be outside of the top 4. We
Yeah.
got 1.5, 1.5, 1 and 1.
Was it Thursday night that LA played? That Jared Verse looked like he was doing his thing. That was a crazy game. The Rams and the Vikings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, nah, it looks like he's balling.
Yeah.
17 tackles is solo. 17 solo tackles, 2.5 sacks, and a forced fumble. He's getting off.
But if we can fix that side of the ball, right? If we can get our QB pressure up, I believe this team is a contender, like a true championship contender.
I mean, because you think about our secondary, like how good Jesse Bates is. Jesse Bates
Defensive player of the
is
year.
crazy. Yeah, easily, right? Um, and with the the improvements AJ Terrell has made. I like Justin Simmons. He's been hurt, but he's had some good plays. He's had a pick this year. There's our nickelback. I like our nickelback a lot. Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes is a strong tackler. Imagine how much better they would be if they had a pass rush.
I even like D. Alford, right? Like I don't
Yeah, I
think
like D. Alford too. Yeah,
I think our secondary is, above average. I think our linebacker core is mid, and I think our defensive line is, below average. And
yeah.
that's just my take, right? So I do think you fix that defensive line though. You can if you could get pressure on the quarterback consistently, everybody on the back end is gonna elevate that much more. And this team
Hmm.
would be a true championship contender. We are the only team in the league that has two receivers plus 500 yards this year.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's Kirk, man. Kirk, Captain Kirk.
yeah.
How about the World Series is tied from 5-0 to 5-5.
Yep. That's the Dodgers for you. They can come and they can get them in bunches, but we have surpassed our target by 10 minutes. So, is there anything you would
Yeah.
like to end us with?
Go Atlanta. They can't keep us down forever, baby.
Just go the city.
all sports in the city, all teams.
Yeah, man. Well, we appreciate all y'all listening. Like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell. Hit us up on the Instagram and the TikTok, Players Ball Pod. That's Players Ball Pod on Instagram and TikTok. We appreciate all y'all. Much love and peace out.
Holla at your boy.